Ladies and gentlemen, there is a truth that transcends the brokenness of our past and the weight of wasted years. It is this: no time is ever truly lost when placed in the hands of the Creator. While we may experience seasons of regret, seasons where we feel that opportunities have slipped through our fingers, I am here to tell you that restoration is not only possible, it is inevitable when we align with the principles of God's kingdom. Time, in its essence, is a gift and irreplaceable currency that every individual possesses. Yet in the course of life, it often feels as though this precious resource slips through our fingers. Mistakes, missed opportunities, and seasons of stagnation can leave us believing that we've wasted the time we were given. But in the hands of God, no time is ever truly lost. What appears to be irredeemable from a human perspective is simply raw material for divine restoration. God operates beyond the constraints of time as we understand it. He exists outside of its boundaries, holding the past, present, and future simultaneously. When we surrender our lives, including our perceived wasted years, into His hands, He has the power to redeem and restore them in ways that exceed human understanding. The failures, the regrets, and the lost opportunities become a canvas for His creativity and grace. Through His wisdom and sovereignty, what we thought was broken beyond repair is transformed into something purposeful and valuable. Often, the idea of wasted time is rooted in comparison. We look at others who seem to have achieved more or reached milestones we haven't, and we lament what we perceive as lost time. However, God does not measure time by human achievements or milestones. He measures it by purpose. A single moment surrendered to Him can have an eternal impact. What takes years in human effort, He can accomplish in an instant. He is the God who turns mourning into joy, ashes into beauty, and lost time into a platform for His glory. The process begins with surrender. It is in releasing our regrets and trusting Him with our broken pieces that we find the hope of restoration. Surrender is not about resigning to defeat, it is about positioning ourselves for a fresh start. It is an act of faith, a declaration that we believe in His ability to do more with our lives than we could ever achieve on our own. When we give Him our time past, present, and future, we step into the realm of His divine timing, where all things work together for good. Through this surrender, we begin to see that the years we thought were wasted were not without value. They have shaped us, taught us, and prepared us for what is to come. In God's hands, even our mistakes carry meaning. They become lessons, tools, and testimonies that equip us for greater purpose. The pain and regret of the past are not erased but redeemed, woven into the fabric of a new story that brings hope and inspiration to others. God's ability to restore time is a reflection of His character. He is a redeemer by nature, and His restoration is never partial or incomplete. When He restores, He does so abundantly. What He gives back is not merely what was lost, but something greater, more refined, more significant, and more aligned with His purpose for our lives. The years that seem to have slipped away become a foundation for a future that exceeds anything we could have imagined. It is important to understand that this restoration does not negate the past, rather, it transforms it. The mistakes and detours become part of the journey, testifying to God's grace and power. The scars of wasted time are not removed but redefined as marks of resilience and growth. Through Him, they become evidence of His faithfulness, a reminder that He is able to redeem all things. In God's economy, nothing is wasted, not even time. When we give Him what we have, no matter how little or broken it seems, He multiplies it. He takes the moments we thought were meaningless and imbues them with eternal significance. What we thought was lost forever is revealed to be part of a divine plan, one that brings fulfillment, purpose, and a deeper understanding of His love. The restoration begins with the ability to see beyond the present circumstances. It requires vision, the kind of vision that allows one to look past the ruins of what was lost and see the possibility of what can be rebuilt. Without vision, restoration remains an abstract concept, an unattainable dream. Vision is the driving force that propels us forward, empowering us to believe in the reality of what has not yet materialized. Vision is more than mere optimism, It is a focused awareness of purpose and potential. It is the ability to see through the lens of faith, to understand that no matter how great the loss or how deep the brokenness, there is a future worth pursuing. Where others may see only desolation, vision enables us to perceive opportunity. It transforms what appears to be the end into the beginning of something new. The absence of vision often leaves individuals stuck in cycles of regret and despair. When we dwell on what was lost, our perspective narrows, and we become paralyzed by the weight of the past. Without vision, it is easy to believe that restoration is beyond reach, that the mistakes and wasted years define us. But vision lifts our gaze, shifting our focus from the limitations of what has been to the limitless possibilities of what can be. It stirs within us the hope that change is possible and that restoration is not only a promise but a process that we can engage in. Vision requires us to trust in what we cannot yet see. It demands faith in the unseen and the courage to act even when evidence of change is not immediately apparent. It involves reimagining our circumstances not as they are but as they could be, through the lens of divine purpose. This kind of vision challenges us to let go of the familiar, even if that familiarity includes pain and disappointment, and step into a space of expectation and renewal. Restoration driven by vision also involves intentionality. It is not a passive process. Vision compels us to take steps, even small ones, toward rebuilding and reclaiming what was lost. It requires setting goals, making decisions, and taking action that aligns with the future we envision. Without this intentionality, the promise of restoration remains dormant. Vision breathes life into the process, awakening in us the determination to pursue wholeness and transformation. Moreover, vision invites us to align with a higher perspective. It allows us to see our circumstances through God's eyes, recognizing that His plans for restoration often exceed our own. What we might seek to rebuild in its original form, He seeks to transform into something even greater. Vision, therefore, involves a surrender of our limited perspective in exchange for His expansive view. It is in this surrender that we begin to see how the broken pieces of our lives can be reassembled into something far more beautiful and meaningful than we could have imagined. Vision also sustains us during the process of restoration, which is often neither immediate nor easy. The journey requires patience, perseverance, and resilience. Without vision, it is easy to grow weary and give up when progress seems slow or obstacles arise. But when we keep the vision of restoration before us, it becomes a source of motivation, a reminder of why we continue to press forward. Vision provides clarity and direction, keeping us focused on the promise rather than the challenges along the way. Ultimately, vision is the seed from which restoration grows. It begins in the mind and heart, as we dare to believe in the possibility of a future that is better than the past. It enables us to step into the process with faith and expectancy, trusting that what is ahead is greater than what was left behind. Through vision, we unlock the potential for restoration, transforming what once seemed impossible into a tangible reality. Alignment with divine principles is the foundation upon which true restoration is built. It is not enough to desire restoration or even to envision it. There must be a deliberate alignment with the principles and truths that govern the process of renewal. Divine principles are the immutable laws established by God, and they serve as the guiding framework for restoration. When we align ourselves with these principles, we position ourselves to receive the fullness of what God intends for our lives. Alignment begins with understanding. To align with divine principles, one must first seek to know them. These principles are not hidden but revealed through scripture, prayer, and reflection. They provide clarity on how restoration is meant to unfold. For example, principles of humility, repentance, forgiveness, and faith are all essential to the restoration process. They remind us that restoration is not solely about regaining what was lost, but about transforming into what we were always meant to be. When we grasp these truths, we are better equipped to navigate the journey of restoration with intention and purpose. Living in alignment with divine principles requires surrender. Restoration is not something we can accomplish through sheer willpower or determination alone. It is a process that requires yielding to God's plan and trusting His ways above our own. This surrender is not passive but active. It involves relinquishing control and allowing God to direct our steps. It calls for obedience to His word, even when His instructions challenge our preferences or expectations. This obedience creates the conditions for God's transformative power to work fully in our lives. Alignment also necessitates a willingness to be reshaped. Restoration often involves a process of refinement, where God works on the areas of our character, habits, and attitudes that need adjustment. This process can be uncomfortable, as it requires letting go of old patterns and embracing new ones. Divine principles act as a mirror, revealing areas where we may have strayed or resisted growth. In aligning with these principles, we open ourselves to being molded into vessels that can carry the fullness of God's blessings and purposes. Another critical aspect of alignment is trust in God's timing and methods. Restoration rarely happens according to our schedule or in the ways we anticipate. Divine principles teach us to have patience and to trust that God is orchestrating events for our ultimate good. This trust frees us from the anxiety of trying to force outcomes or measure progress by our limited understanding. Instead, we rest in the assurance that as long as we remain aligned with His principles, we are moving toward the restoration He has promised. Alignment with divine principles also brings about peace and clarity. When we align ourselves with God's ways, we experience a sense of order and stability that transcends the chaos of our circumstances. Divine principles serve as a compass, guiding us through uncertainty and keeping us grounded in truth. They remind us of our identity and purpose, even when the process of restoration feels slow or challenging. This clarity enables us to move forward with confidence, knowing that we are walking in step with God's plan. Perhaps one of the most powerful outcomes of alignment is that it opens the door for God's favor and blessings. When we live according to His principles, we create an environment where His power can flow freely. Restoration is not merely about recovering what was lost, but about stepping into a greater level of purpose and abundance. Alignment ensures that we are positioned to receive and steward these blessings well, using them to glorify God and fulfill His purposes in our lives. Ultimately, alignment with divine principles is not a one-time decision, but a continuous journey. It requires daily commitment, self-reflection, and a heart that seeks after God. As we walk in alignment with His ways, we experience the profound truth that His principles are not restrictive but liberating. They lead us into the fullness of life, enabling us to embrace restoration in all its dimensions and to live out the destiny for which we were created. Restoration in God's hands is not a return to what once was, but a transformation into something far greater. When God restores, He doesn't simply rebuild what was broken or replace what was lost. Instead, He multiplies and enhances, creating something more beautiful, more purposeful, and more aligned with His divine plan. This principle reveals not only His power, but also His nature, a God of abundance who desires to do exceedingly more than we can ask or imagine. In human terms, restoration is often about trying to regain what we feel has slipped away. It is a longing for the past, for the familiar, or for what once brought security and joy. But God's perspective is different. He does not see restoration as a backward glance, but as a forward movement. When He restores, He does so with the intent of not only healing what was broken, but elevating it to a new level of excellence and purpose. He takes the shattered fragments of our lives and turns them into masterpieces that reflect His glory. This kind of restoration can be seen throughout Scripture. When Job lost everything, his wealth, his family, and his health, God did not merely give him back what he had lost. He restored Job with double the blessings he had before. This was not just about material wealth or physical healing. It was about a deeper understanding of God's character and a renewal of Job's faith and purpose. The restoration Job experienced was a testimony of God's ability to bring beauty out of ashes and abundance out of desolation. God's restoration also transforms identity. When he restores, he redefines who we are, often using the very areas of our brokenness to bring about strength and growth. Consider the story of Joseph. Betrayed by his brothers and sold into slavery, Joseph endured years of suffering and injustice. Yet, when God restored him, it was not simply by reuniting him with his family. Joseph was elevated to a position of authority in Egypt, where he became a source of provision and salvation for countless people, including those who had wronged him. His journey of restoration was not about reclaiming his past, but stepping into a future that exceeded anything he could have envisioned. The process of restoration also reflects God's intentionality. He does not rush or shortcut the process. Instead, he works meticulously, ensuring that the end result is far greater than the original state. Restoration often requires time, refinement, and alignment with his purposes. During this process, God shapes us, teaching us lessons that prepare us for the greater blessings he has in store. What feels like delay is often preparation, as he equips us to handle the weight of what he is restoring. Furthermore, God's restoration is comprehensive. It touches every area of our lives, our relationships, our purpose, our joy, and our faith. He does not merely patch up the broken pieces, he creates something entirely new and whole. This is why his restoration always exceeds the original state. It is not limited by human standards or expectations, but flows out of his infinite resources and creativity. He restores with the intent of bringing glory to his name and drawing us closer to him. Restoration beyond the original state also reveals God's redemptive power. He has the ability to take even the most painful and devastating experiences and use them for good. The years we thought were wasted, the losses we believed were irreparable, and the mistakes we feared defined us are all repurposed in his hands. What once brought despair becomes a source of hope. What was intended for harm becomes a platform for his glory. This kind of restoration not only heals but redeems, giving new meaning to our past and new hope for our future. When God restores beyond the original state, it is an invitation to trust him fully. It challenges us to let go of our limited expectations and embrace his boundless possibilities. Restoration is not just about recovering what we think we need, but about stepping into the fullness of what God has prepared for us. It is a journey of faith, one that requires surrender and belief in his goodness. And when we experience it, we realize that his plans are always better, his timing is always perfect, and his restoration is always more than we could have imagined. Purpose is the lens through which wasted years are redefined and redeemed. What may seem like a season of loss, failure, or stagnation takes on new meaning when aligned with a greater purpose. In God's design, no experience, no matter how painful or seemingly futile, is without value. Purpose has the power to transform wasted years into testimonies that inspire, uplift, and glorify God. Life is filled with moments that feel irrecoverable. There are seasons marked by regret over missed opportunities, poor decisions, or circumstances beyond one's control. These wasted years can carry a weight of shame, bitterness, and despair as they appear to be empty stretches of time that can never be reclaimed. However, purpose has the ability to turn these seasons into platforms for growth and transformation. When aligned with God's purpose, what was once seen as a detour becomes a vital part of the journey, contributing to a story of redemption and grace. Purpose begins with perspective. It shifts the focus from what was lost to what can be gained through the experience. Rather than dwelling on the past as wasted, purpose reframes it as preparation. The lessons learned, the resilience developed, and the faith cultivated during difficult seasons become tools for the future. God's purpose often uses the very experiences we wish to forget to equip us for the work he has called us to do. These years are not wasted, but are instead building blocks for the fulfillment of his plan. The transformative power of purpose lies in its ability to bring clarity to pain and hardship. Without purpose, suffering can feel meaningless, leaving us questioning why we endured certain trials. But when purpose is revealed, it brings light to those dark moments, showing how they fit into the larger narrative of God's work in our lives. The mistakes we made, the hardships we faced, and even the time we thought was lost all serve to strengthen us and refine our character. They become evidence of God's ability to redeem every aspect of our lives. Purpose also unlocks the potential for testimony. The struggles and setbacks of wasted years become the very foundation of the stories we share to encourage others. A testimony is not just a recounting of the good things God has done, but a declaration of how He has brought beauty from ashes, strength from weakness, and hope from despair. The wasted years, when transformed by purpose, become a beacon for those who are still in their own seasons of loss. They offer proof that restoration is possible and that God can use even the most broken situations for His glory. Moreover, purpose transforms wasted years into testimonies by revealing their role in shaping identity and calling. Often it is through the challenges of these years that individuals discover their true strengths, passions, and capacities. The very experiences that once seemed to hold them back become the catalyst for stepping into their purpose. This transformation is not about erasing the past, but about integrating it into a new, meaningful chapter. The wasted years are redeemed because they contribute to a deeper understanding of who we are and what we are called to do. Purpose also connects us to others. Our testimonies, born out of wasted years, have the power to resonate with those who are facing similar struggles. They create opportunities for empathy, compassion, and ministry. When we share how God has worked through our wasted years, we not only honor His transformative power, but also inspire others to trust Him with their own. The purpose behind those years becomes a source of hope and encouragement, demonstrating that no season is beyond redemption. Finally, purpose leads to a deeper relationship with God. As wasted years are transformed into testimonies, they draw us closer to Him, reminding us of His faithfulness and love. They become reminders of how He has carried us through and brought us out stronger on the other side. This deepened connection strengthens our faith and equips us to face future challenges with confidence, knowing that every season has a purpose in His plan. In God's hands, no year is truly wasted. Every experience, every setback, and every failure is woven into His greater purpose for our lives. What we once viewed as loss becomes a testimony of His power to redeem, restore, and transform. Purpose does not erase the past, but gives it meaning, turning wasted years into stories of hope and triumph that glorify God and inspire others. In the grand tapestry of life, every thread, whether vibrant with success or shadowed by failure, has a purpose when placed in God's hands. The wasted years we mourn are not truly lost, for God's power to restore is unparalleled. He redeems time, transforms pain into purpose, and takes us beyond what we could imagine, crafting testimonies that inspire and glorify His name. Restoration requires vision, alignment with His principles, and a willingness to trust His divine timing. It is through our surrender and faith that the broken pieces of our lives are reshaped into something far greater than their original state. God's ability to restore is not bound by our limitations or failures. He exceeds them, proving that nothing is wasted in His design. Every setback becomes a setup for His glory, and every broken season becomes a platform for His grace. In Him, wasted years are not the end of the story. They are the foundation for a new beginning, one that shines with the light of hope, redemption, and divine purpose. Let us trust in His ability to restore and walk boldly into the fullness of what He has prepared for us.